Okay, let's have a look now at converting from improper fractions to mixed numerals without using diagrams. And that can be very helpful when you get to bigger numbers like this. That'll take a long time to draw up 56 tenths, but you certainly can do it. So the key to this, it's the same thinking. It's asking how many holes do I have and how many bits do I have left over. Okay, so let's look at this. First thing is understanding what a hole is. Okay, now in this case we're dealing with halves. So one whole is two halves. Okay, so again, thinking about our big ideas with fractions. Okay, I've divided something up into halves, into two bits, and I have those two bits. So that is one whole. Okay, so my thinking now is to work out how many holes I have, how many groups of two halves are there in three halves? Okay, so, well, I've got one group of, of two halves. Absolutely I do. Okay, now if I went to and added another group, so that's one whole. Okay, if I added another group, I'd actually end up with four halves, and that's too many. So I've only got one whole plus one little half left over. So I've got 1 and a half. One whole, which is my 2 over 2, and the 1/2 left over. Okay. For the next one, 56 divided by 10, well, again, I need to remember again that 10 tenths is equal to one whole. Okay, and now I need to ask myself, how many groups of 10 tenths are there in 56 tenths? Okay, now hopefully you're looking at this and you're seeing straight away that, okay, I can think of this as, 50 tenths plus 6 tenths. Okay, now 50 tenths is 5 wholes. Okay, so think about it, it's 5 groups of 10 tenths. And I've got 6 tenths left over. Okay, so my mixed numeral is 5 wholes and the 6 tenths left over. Okay, with the thirds, I need to be asking myself, okay, if I accept that 3/3 is one whole, taken something divided into 3 parts, I have those 3 parts, then I need to say how many groups of 3/3 are there in 28/3. Okay, and again, if you know your tables, and you're hopefully getting that message now that tables are important here as well. If I know that 3 times 9 is 27, okay, then it's telling me that I have 9 groups of 3/3. Okay, 9 groups of 3/3 equals 27/3. Okay, so I have 9 wholes. Then what have I got left? Well, I've got to get to the 28/3, I need to add one more third. Okay, so it becomes 9 and 1/3. So 9 lots of 3/3 and 1/3 left over. Now, if you feel like you've understood that, now's the time to stop the video and go and apply that understanding. If you haven't understood it, stick around. I'll just try and explain it in a slightly clearer way, hopefully. So if you're not great with your tables, what I did on the previous screen might be quite confusing. So let's try and look at this in a different way, and using the same thinking but slightly different variation. Okay, so we'll start with this one here. So if I know that, again, got to accept that 10 tenths equals one whole, then I'm asking how many holes do I have and how many do I have left over. So this time I'm just going to use skip counting, okay, rather than like mentally processing our tables. Okay, so let's just skip count by tens. We're working in tenths, so we'll skip count by 10. Okay, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and we keep going until we hit a number that's bigger than the one we've got. And then we get to 60. Okay, so 60 is too big. Okay, 60 is more than 56. Okay, so let's think about these in terms of tenths. Okay, so again, that's 10 tenths, 20 tenths, 30 tenths, 40 tenths, and 50 tenths. Okay. So if we accept that 10 tenths is one whole, well, there's one whole. I add 10 more tenths, so I've got two wholes, gets me to 20 tenths. I add 10 more tenths, so I get 30 tenths. I add 10 more tenths, gets me to 40 tenths. I add 10 more tenths, gets me to 50 tenths. Okay, so really what I've got is 5 wholes here. Okay, so in my mixed numeral I have 5 whole numbers. Then what have I got left over? Thinking about that, well, I've got 6 left over, so that's 6 more tenths. Okay, so it becomes 5 and 6 tenths. Again, we use the skip counting method again down here. Now again, we must accept that 3/3 equals one whole. So my thinking is, how many lots of 3/3 are there in 28/3? Again, we'll use the skip counting again. So just write out your table. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. Okay, so once I've hit 30, I've gone over 28, so it can't be that one. Okay. And again, if you want to think about these as thirds, okay, so we just put the thirds on the bottom. You don't really need to do this, but if it helps with your thinking, you can. Okay, so we've got those. Okay, so each one of these is a group of 3/3. Okay, I started with 3/3, I added 3 more, got me to 6/3, 9/3, 10/3, 15/3, 18/3, 21/3, 24/3, 27/3. Okay, so now we know that 3/3 is one whole, so there's one whole, 2 wholes, 3 whole, 4 holes, 5 holes, 6 holes, 7 holes, 8 holes, and 9 holes. Okay, so I've got 9 whole numbers, and what have I got left over? Okay, well that's got me to 27/3, 9 holes, plus 1/3 left over. Okay, so it's 9 and 1/3. Okay, so you can use that skip counting method if you're not great with your tables, and that will get you the right answer. Anyway, so hopefully between those 3 ways of doing it, there's one that works for you. Solve them with diagrams if you haven't understood this video. Otherwise, try and use one of the, or a combination of, a written diagram and, diagram and a written method, either just using your knowledge of table facts or your using the skip counting method. Okay, thanks. Good luck with it. Let me know how you get on.